let's move on to the next thing. You have your classroom plan, you have your rules, you have your procedures. Okay, so now, I'm sorry, your expectations. So now you move on to your procedures, your routines. How do you get things done on a daily basis? Because if you let your students know exactly how you want them to perform certain tasks, believe me, you're gonna minimize the amount of disruptions and you're gonna maximize the amount of learning that happens, which is what you wanna do, correct? So you wanna ask yourself, what activities can you think of that your students are gonna perform on a regular basis that need a procedure? Let me give you an example. I showed you my calculators. Do you think that that's something that needs a procedure? How to get a calculator? Yes, right? So before class started, I thought about, okay, how do I want my students to get their calculators? Do I want them to get it in the middle of class, or do I want them to get it as soon as they come in, get it, and sit down? So you think about, okay, what kind of activities need a procedure, need a routine? So we're gonna do a little activity right now, and it's called give one, take one. So here, just think about days or special activities that will require a routine, a procedure. So I gave you an example, getting calculators. Some of you mentioned earlier, do you think testing days require a set of procedures? Yes, so that's another example. So I gave you one. Put where you get one. I just gave you one, testing day, right? Testing day would be an example of an activity or task that requires a procedure. Okay, now for the activity, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna get up and mingle, and you're gonna give one to whoever you talk to. You're gonna give an example, and then they're gonna give you one. So that's why it's called give one, get. Okay, so think about what kind of tasks require a procedure or a routine.
So take about 5 minutes to think of your own. So think of 5.
Yes.
Put
Yes.
them on the.
So make a list first, and then we'll have you get up and share with the rest.
On the gift.
Okay, so can you give me an example of one that you have there?
The big one, or it doesn't
It
matter?
doesn't matter, just give me an example of one.
Yes, get your lab coat and goggles.
Okay, so on lab days, for those of us that teach science, what's the procedure to get your equipment, your lab coat, your goggles? So yes, that would require procedure. Okay, over here, give me an example of one.
Well, it's turning assignments.
Turning in assignments. Okay, so how do you turn in assignments? Where do you turn them into? Very good. That would require a procedure that they need to know. And that happens pretty much every day, right? So that's something that you want to teach them. This is where you're going to turn it in, and this is how you turn it in. Okay, over here, ladies. You have an example of a different one? Okay, so what are the procedures when we're headed to the computer lab? Or when you're using the computer? Okay, very good. Over here?
Raising your hand
Okay, and raising your hand to do what? To get help?
Yes.
To get help or to go to the restroom? So see the difference, you have to be very specific. Okay, what do you do when you want to get help, or what do you do when you want to go to the restroom? So you have to be very specific. So everyone in your packet, if you turn to page 6 and page 7, some other examples. Let's look at those and see if any of them surprise you or any of them you never would have thought about. So if you look at them on page number 6 on the very last slide, third slide, it says policies and procedures taught the first day to be used on the second day. So for example, coming to attention, what different techniques you can use, because a lot of times you have a group activity and there's so many students and it's so loud that it's going to be very hard for you to get their attention. So what kind of things can you do? What's the procedure? I've had, I know many different ones, right? Do you have an example of one? The raise. So if you raise your hand and everyone starts raising their hand, and then eventually everyone in the room is quiet, right? That's one example. I have another example, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but you say class, and everyone has to respond class, and classity class, classity class. So eventually everyone gets quiet. Do any of you have other examples that you've seen? Yes.
You say clap once if you can hear me, so you'll have maybe like 2 or 3 that clap, and that catches other people's attention, and you you say clap twice if you can hear me, and then they clap twice. So by the third time, you say clap 3 times if you can hear me, and the whole class will clap.
Very good. Yes.
1, 2, 3, I san me, I san who, I san me.
Okay, very
That's for
good.
elementary.
Yes, so, and a lot of times it depends on if you're teaching elementary, if you're teaching high school. So it really depends on what you're doing.
The light.
I'll just turning on and off the lights. So come, I guess, decide what way do you want to use to get their attention. Because believe me, saying, okay, everyone, a lot of times it'll take forever. Or they'll just be talking about whatever it is that they want to talk about. So you have to get them used to how am I going to get your attention when you're doing group activities. So that's one, that's important. Okay, another one, entering the classroom. What is it that you want them to do as they come into the classroom? The beginning of the period, a routine. Do you have a bell ringer? Do you have an activity? Do you want them to get the calculator? Do you want them to get their book? So what is it that you want them to do as soon as they come in? That's another routine. The next one, don't disrespect by sharpening when someone's talking. Okay, so if you look at, we included this in the practice so you guys can see and have an idea. That way when you become a teacher, then you can think of, okay, what do I want them to do? How do I want them to do it for this? When you're a new teacher, a lot of times you're so involved in, okay, this is what I want to teach, blah, blah, that you forget a lot about these things. So keep this list, that way when you become a teacher and it's your first year, you remember, okay, I need to make sure that I have a routine for all of these. Okay, when there's a sub, whenever they're absent, what do you want them to do? You have an example, right? For when they're absent?
Oh, yes.
What do you do?
Yes. Well, first of all, before I lose my thought, is don't think you have to go through these with your students the very first day, okay? If you're not doing the lab the very first day, you don't need to bring that up, okay? You bring that up the day of your first lab. You bring that up the first day you have emergency. You bring that up when the occasion arises. That's the day before or the day of, that's when you bring it up. So don't feel overwhelmed to think, oh my God, I gotta cover all of this the first day of class. No. You don't do that. It's just things that you need to keep in mind to say, okay, I'm gonna have a lab tomorrow, or I'm gonna have an activity with my kids tomorrow. I need to go over this first. And you might have to repeat it several times before they catch on, okay? And so you gotta have that thing. Now, one of the procedures that I have for kids that are absent, especially in high school, you have sporting events, you have UIL, you have kids in and out every single day. You gotta have a way that they're not miss. I was absent yesterday, what did I miss? Okay, you don't, now my students know I have a desk on the side, and what I do is the assignments that we do through the week, they're on that desk. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if it was that. I tend to do notes for like the whole week, so I'm not constantly going down to the copy room. So if they already have those notes, okay, they already have them, or if I gave a new set of notes, they're there to pick up. I also have little cubicles, those little like file holders for the wall, one for every period. And so what I do is when I hand out a handout, like if it was something important, I actually put the student name who was absent, and I actually put it there as well. So that's something that they do. So that's one of the procedures. So if you were absent, there it is. So there it is. If you have a question, then talk to me after class, talk to me after school, during study skills, but that's what you missed. There it is. So it's one of the things that you can think about as well.
So again, that's an example of a very good routine that you can have, because yes, kids being absent can overwhelm you. Miss, I was absent Monday, and then another, Miss, I was absent Tuesday, what did you do? Miss, I was absent last Wednesday. So it can be, and with her method, it's right there. You don't have to stop class and look for your file. So think of things that are gonna help you maximize the time that you have to teach and minimize disruption. That's what you always want to think. And going back to what Veronica was saying, yes, you don't have to go through all of this in the first day. If you notice, that's why it's divided into 2 slides. If you would want to talk about the majority of the ones on page 6, the first day, that's why it says the first day, and then the ones on number 7, then those you can cover as they come up, okay? So those are good examples. So any questions? Any questions? Yes?
How do you see attendance, or you just do it like at the beginning of the class?
Yes, I do. A lot of times the school sets the procedure as to how you take attendance, but you can make your own thing to help you be very good at it. And I'll show you an example. You're very good at asking questions.
Yes.
They're coming. We're organizing them. I'll get to that. But a lot of times the procedure is determined by the school. And now it's in computer where you just click who's absent and who's not, so it's very easy, okay? Let me show you, for example, a routine that I have for my calculators, since I showed you the calculator setup. Right next to where the calculators are hanging, I have what I want from them, and then I have the names. This is first period, second period, third period, and so on, and it's their names with the number that they are supposed to use. So it's very hard for me to remember who has number 20 in period 1 and number 20 in period 2, right? So I can come over here, okay, number 20 is missing, so and so, where's the calculator? So think of things that are gonna help you be very effective and not waste time, okay? Any questions? Okay, before we go on to this, I forgot, we wanna give you an opportunity to come up with a set of procedures for something, so we're gonna give you one special day or activity, and you're gonna come up as a group with a set of procedures for that specific activity.
Never go with more than 5. Okay?
Yes, keep it very clear, very concise. What we're gonna have you do is do what we call a carousel activity, which is basically you're just gonna get up and go and look at everyone's and like kind of take note as to what they went through and see if you would do any changes, anything like that. So think about when you have your classroom, would you follow these procedures or would you add or would you delete some of the stuff? So we'll give you 5 minutes. 5 minutes to go around. If you want to take pictures because you found it good, go ahead. Okay? So go ahead and run around.
So you already, have you already taken content together? What's your next plan?
You know, a lot of the schools are starting STEM programs, which is the science, technology. They have a high need for engineering teachers, like an engineering class, introduction to electronics, introduction to mechanics, and stuff like that. So that's
Okay, so let's move on now. Before we do move on, I just want to make a little bit of an observation. I don't know if you all noticed. Did Mr. Gallardo and I sit down after we gave you the word? No, what were we doing? We were walking around. That's key, okay? That is very key. You cannot expect for a student to remain focused when you give him an assignment and you just go and get on your desk, okay? Unfortunately, a lot of teachers will start playing on their phones or playing on the internet, you know, stuff like that, all right? So that's something that, even if it's an activity, don't think that it's your free day. You need to walk around. You need to talk to those kids. If you see a kid that's not engaged, hey, what's going on? What's going, you know, tell me, do you not understand? Or do you know what we're doing? Or what are you planning to do? Or maybe it's just, reality is, guys, that these kids have home issues, okay? No, miss, it's because, you know, something happened at home and I'm just not feeling good. And if you know that kid is good, it's like, okay, you know, just kind of listen. And it's okay for you to do that if you know that child can be helped later on. Because if that child is going through something major, it doesn't matter how much you're like, get to work, get to work, get to work. It's not going to happen, okay? So also be aware of their moods as well. Now, if it's like a little lame excuse, like, okay, yeah, go ahead, let's work on this, okay? So always walk around. Don't think that once you give the assignment, you're free for the period. You have to walk around, okay? You have to walk around. Another thing, if you notice that maybe 2 of them are working and the other one isn't working, another suggestion for you would be, it's like, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and spread out the work. So since they're already talking about it, why don't you be the note taker? Or why don't you be the one that does the poster? You know, something like that. Give them different duties for them to do. And I've seen that happen as well as far as like labs. You can say, okay, you're the lab leader, okay? You're the note taker, you're the go-to person. Like when you say, hey, somebody come pick up materials or whatever. Oh, okay, I'll go get it. Okay, so instead of you not having a mad rush going to the supply table, you only have one person per group. And they're not, no, you go, no, you go. You know, you already have somebody that's set. Okay, so that's another few things to think about. But yeah, especially in middle school, high school, you put them into groups, forget it. It's gonna be all about, hey, what's going on this weekend? Or did you hear about so-and-so? And this is what happened, and da-da-da-da. So you gotta walk around to keep them focused.